Hey everybody, welcome to the Plant Strong Cycling Podcast. Today on the podcast we have Bobby Finster from Cave City, Arkansas, or more properly, Sandtown, Arkansas. Let's jump right into it. Here we go. All right. Hey Bobby, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good today.
Good. Are you at home right now?
I am.
Sweet.
I am. There's a pretty wild storm blowing through right now. So
I saw that. I'm actually in Nashville right now. But I got the alerts in Walnut Ridge saying that there was a severe thunderstorm and possible flood warning. But what are y'all going through?
yeah, just heavy rain and some thunder and lightning right now.
Gotcha.
So we're just kicked back and taking it easy.
Well, if you need to go, you let me know. But other than that, we're going to talk bicycles for the rest this time. Sound good?
Perfect. Sounds great.
So Bobby, you've created some epic rides. So, okay, question about the Sandtown Shuffle. Do you just ride a crazy ton of miles and like variations of like roads around your house and then just make the best of kind of playlist? Or is there some like secret formula you follow of like, okay, this will be really tough and then it'll be beautiful, then it'll be easy, then it'll be tough again, then it'll be beautiful, then it'll be easy. How do you go about creating these epic rides in your hometown?
Just being familiar with them, first of all. It kind of dates back to my really backroading and beer drinking days, back when I was doing the things I shouldn't be doing. And getting familiar with those roads back then, and now it's translated into being, very familiar with a lot of them, and now ride them on bicycles. And, I went through a phase where I had the Polaris Razor side-by-sides were very popular, and I would just always navigate them that way. And then when I got, into cycling, I just, transitioned to a bike and started riding them all and exploring the smaller pathways and the ones I couldn't really get to through vehicle or side by side. And you can take those roads, on bike. And yeah, so just, that's really it. And then, knowing, your needs as far as nutrition and hydration, spinning that into taking yourself through these small towns at certain points in the ride and then water levels of the White River. And that plays a factor in some of my roles. Yeah, there's a lot of factors to that. It's pretty layered, but really just familiarity with the region.
So you did all that on different vehicles, and then you got into the bicycle with those roads. Like, why is it so much better on a bicycle than in a vehicle to ride those roads? How would you?
I think for me, just slowing down and taking in the landscape, that's what it's about for me, is being in nature. And it's just, the simple power of you cranking a bicycle through the mountains or through the landscape, wherever you're at, the simplicity of it. There's just something about that is just so different. It is hard to explain.
So what was the inspiration behind the Sandtown Shuffle? And for those who don't know, I mean, the summary would be there was back in 2023 in that spring, there was a 30-mile and a 60-mile different loop, essentially. And it was just through some of the most beautiful parts in like Izard County and
Independence Sharp
Sharp
County, Independence. Yeah.
Did you cross over into Izard, or was I making that up?
No, I believe you do. Yeah,
Okay.
I think you do.
So what was because that was a lot of climbing and a lot of fun. And like you said about the White River, like there was a lot of flooding that was unexpected that happened that made some of those those creek crossings pretty wild, but it made it really memorable, I think, for everybody from like the couple pros that were there. I don't know if Andrew would consider himself a pro, but I consider him a pro. And then you have some people who, was probably their first ride of 2023. And I think everybody loved that aspect of it, just the unique challenge of it. But what was your inspiration behind that?
Realistically, I've landed, ever since I've been into gravel, have really taken recognition of our place in the state and the value of gravel. I mean, we have some high level gravel in this area, and with the potential of having hundreds and hundreds of routes spread out through all these counties that you mentioned. I just wanted to find a way to get gravel cyclists to come and visit. So give them a route and feed them some barbecue and give them some southern hospitality and mixed with some local talent as far as music goes, just to have an all around little gravel festival out at a secluded church that, they no longer have services there. And we kind of took it over for a year, and I'm just trying to show off this area. And so hosting an event was for me the way to do that. And I think it really had some of the best routes that I have in the area. And like you say, it was interesting. And the watershed, with the White River close, it brings up some obstacles, some that are not always there. And that weekend was pretty wild. And like you say, it made it very memorable for a lot of people.
So there was a fun route to ride, and there was music, and there was food, and there was beer. There was like all the element and like the hangout in the community. Did you invent that, like all those elements together for like a quote unquote gravel ride? Or is that something that you experienced somewhere else and you brought to the Sandtown Shuffle as like the core essence of what all the ride would entail?
Well, yeah, realistically, going over to visit with Martin Smith at Bird Eye and getting a full taste of the Arkansas Delta and the music and gravel and the hospitality in that area at that event in particular really struck a chord with me. And it was the best time I've ever had at a gravel event was in Bird Eye. And I still take every chance that I can to get back over to the Arkansas Delta. And I was always never really that interested in the Arkansas Delta and the flats and everything. But once you get on the Crowley's Ridge and, just experience some of the people and the landscape through the bike, in particular, it really changes it. And so just getting so inspired while I was visiting Bird Eye for the gravel festival over there, yeah, I wanted to do that in my area. And I wanted people to have the same experiences that I had, back then. So, yeah.
I rode with Charles Fox from Gearhead, and we rode out towards Cherry Valley from Jonesboro, and we crossed some of the Bird Eye area and saw some of the signage. And I was really surprised at how it's considered the Delta, but how much climbing there was compared to what I was expecting. So
yeah, sure.
I've not done the Bird Eye stuff, but it seems like it's actually probably, like you're describing, pretty beautiful and surprisingly epic. So that's just my very small experience with that area. But I can see how that would influence you to want to do something with the Sandtown Shuffle. When I think about what you did with the Arkansas Graveler, and you helped Scotty scout your area, right, in Cave City, and that like the roads of what to ride.
Yeah.
So
I did a little scouting for her, and also just whenever they were discussing these routes, I got a sneak peek at the route options probably about a year and a half ago, and to see that they possibly were going to come through Cave City. Yeah, I made sure that they knew that we would take care of them if they chose Cave City. And then that turned in, looking at routes with Scotty and then verifying certain sections through the planning.
Now, when I look at like what the day's agenda had for every day for the Graveler, did you help shape that, or was that part of like the core of what they were going to do anyways? And it just so happened that everything that you put into the Sandtown Shuffle kind of aligned with what the Arkansas Graveler was going to look like. Like, which one came first, you or the Arkansas Graveler on the ideas?
That's a good question. I'm not sure which one came first. I know, Mike Spivey from the Ozark Foundation, he had that brainchild a long time ago to put that event on and showcase the state like that. So, I guess it would probably came first. But the idea of, gathering and eating and having music. It's been going on at events for a long time, and it's just kind of it's a little bit different than the whole competitive side of cycling. A lot of times, more of these festival type events like the Mid South, like Unbound in a way. Even though there is the pointy end of those races too, there's a lot of community at those events.
What was your experience with the Graveler then? Because we had Jeremiah on like couple weeks ago, and he talked about how he really liked it, but it might not be like his preferred way to spend a week off of work because of you're really riding 50 to 70 miles and then you're doing all the other stuff. And when I think about you, I think that that's perfect because you could probably ride 150 miles every day for 7 days and then be like, okay, maybe I need a little bit of a break. But you love the other stuff too. Like you love fishing, you love hanging out with people, you like the food, the music, all those things. What was your experience with the Graveler just in general? Like, did you love it? Was it like, is it the same? Like, is that what you want to do every year?
It is a big commitment to take off and ride 6 days like that across the state. And, going into it, I knew for a fact that I was going to know easy 15, 20 people that I really like and I like to ride bikes with. And so looking at it like a summer camp of being catered to on that level.
That's a great way to describe it, by the way.
Yeah. And I mean, just nothing competitive about it. Just ride your bikes with your friends for 6 days and get taken care of, and I mean, there's enough, races out there where you can get out and push the limits and, you can go ride the high country or Doom or, there's all these races that focus on, the racing aspect, and there's some community in there too. But to have a complete event that is just focused on catering to every rider that's just wanting to ride across the state, I thought it was a unique experience, and I was happy that they did it the way they did it. And I think it's going to be really cool if, it'll be cool if they keep the route the same, but if they do make the decision to showcase different parts of the state, I think it would be really cool to see that and to experience, to have that level of being catered to as you ride your bike across the state. And then that's kind of like I was discussing Patrick from Bikes or Death. I said, I am just shocked that I don't see, fully loaded down bikepacking rigs taking it on self-supported, because it would have been a perfect opportunity to even do that because you would have food and everything. So really to, cut your teeth on the bikepacking aspect of things too. It was pretty cool. It was a unique event and I had a blast. I mean, it was fun getting to see my friends every day. It turned into a little bit like Groundhog Day though. It just, okay, well, I'm going to get up today and, your legs are a little tired and you're like,
yeah,
it was challenging because it was so hot that by the time you got off the bike and you got around, you didn't have much time to hang out with your friends and do as much as you wanted to do in each town, because you better get a good night's rest and be hydrating for the next day and getting your body right. So, but yeah, it was everything it was actually a lot more than I expected it to be. I didn't really need that level of, being taken care of, but it was nice on this trip, so.
Yeah. Was that 40 to 70 miles every day? Like, I imagine that, like I said, you could probably do a whole lot more personally. You could have done a whole lot more and been just fine. But you said that when we talked earlier in the week that some of the spots overlapped with like the Doom ride. And so I don't know what to expect from that kind of gravel. Okay, did you watch anything from the guy who did the Tour de France, or who's doing the Tour de France, who rode Unbound? No. And he talked, and he had to quit because he was like, the gravel over here is just different, and I've flatted 3 times, and just talking about like how the gravel actually is pretty rough.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
But man, our gravel in Arkansas is like just as rough, if not rougher, than what you see in Kansas. And so...
Oh, for sure, man, for sure.
we're used to that. And so like we don't know the champagne gravel, so to speak, of riding and not running the risk of really flatting with, because especially the tires that you and I ride. But was was that 47 miles, like, was it pretty challenging for you, or was it like a piece of cake and kind of a joke? Because in my mind, it's like this gravel, these daily rides are probably a joke for Bobby because he's so good, and these do not seem that hard. But how wrong am I if I'm wrong?
They were all challenging depending on what you put into them. If you have a really good fitness level and you're just out there to ride with friends, then obviously it's not always as challenging as what I have put myself into a lot of different times. Like facing like 200 miles in Unbound, the final push at that, digging deep. Like there was none of that, like just flat out, not for me. I'm sure it was for a lot of people, the highlight of their cycling career. I mean, it was challenging on some days a lot more than others. And so I think you can get out of it what you want to if you're wanting to push that hard, no matter what level you're at. But for me personally, I mean, there was really one day that kind of, it was day three that, they shuttled, I believe, between 60 and 70 people set out day three because of the ruggedness of it
Really?
and the heat. Yeah. So out of the 275 starters, the event staff had to make a split decision, and they had to figure out how to get 60 plus riders from Jasper to Marshall and all their stuff, their
Wow.
bikes and everything.
Yeah.
And so they pulled that off. But
That's so
us that
crazy that
decided,
they had the ability to make that happen.
yeah, it really was. But what that meant for the people who did go out on the course is there was an extra level of support. And on that day, it was very nice to have that because it was 100 plus degree heat index, and it was just pretty hot. And and it was the 65 miles, 7,300 feet of climbing. And so it was, the Richland Creek area, and that stuff can be just, rough. And that's on, the backside of coming into Snowball. And, there's 5, 6 mile climbs in there that are just relentless. And, and they're rugged, and you go down these sections and there's people lining the roads with flats and everything else. And that was probably the roughest section on the whole route. But I don't know. Like I say, I think you can get what you want to out of it, but for me, it was just a summer camp. It was good training for things that I would like, that I want to do down the road.
Yeah.
Kind of just wanting to push myself, and 6 days on a bike, no matter what, if you're pushing that kind of mileage and that kind of climbing, it's not easy. Not easy by any stretch, but it's not Unbound at the same time either.
I'm glad you said that, because when you and I initially talked about this event, I said we should do this ride, but we should do it in 1 or 2 days, or like one or two
Yeah.
goes. And the idea was like 175 miles per day, because like this year I wanted to do something impossible. And I know like next year my goals are way different on what I want to do on the bike. And so this year was like, how far can I push myself? I aimed for 350 miles. I got to 300. I'm super proud of myself. But next year it looks wildly different. And like the projects I want to do for the rest of this year look crazy different. But just thinking about like what you've told me so far is you're doing bicycles full time now. Like that is your job right now, right? That's my understanding, is you're focusing on bicycles. So what are your goals over the next year, or even two? How I don't know how are you looking at like the short term goals of what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So, what I'm trying to do is obviously putting on events in our area to kind of highlight the gravel that we have and just open people's eyes and build community in Cave City and Batesville. I feel like we have good community to do that. I think there's not a whole lot of people on bikes in our area, especially on gravel. And I'm wanting to make it easy for people to come and experience the routes and the different landmarks that I have on all these routes the way that I do. That has seemed to spark some interest from people, through social media when I post. And there's nothing like getting a friendly message saying, "Wow, I like seeing these things that you post on social media when you're out biking." And so I just want to make it easy for anyone to be able to find these routes. And so with that, I'm just going to work on not only put on events, but do some mapping and maybe make some pamphlet QR codes similar to what they do in Emporia, at Unbound. Their Chamber of Commerce hands out these little booklets, and you scan the QR codes and it shows you all the amenities on the route. And I think that would be super unique for Cave City to roll that out. And I'm going to help them do that, or I'm going to do it one. Yeah. And then I'm just looking to create a culture around here to selfishly find people to ride with. Ultimately, that's all that I'm after. And I've got some really good stuff to show off. I'm going to do a kind of like what Dirk Murley does over out of Leslie, like the Searcy County Chamber of Commerce. They do the Ozark Grinder Trail Loop. And when you complete the 150-mile loop, you get the patch.
Oh, that's cool.
I've got the White River Gravel Trail over here that I've created, and it's got some very, very cool spots where, miles of riding along the White River with railroad tracks and, bluff lines that are just amazing. And it's got some real unique lodging options if you wanted to make it an overnighter. And so I'm going to do some, not really guided, but some group ride 2-dayers on this loop, and also, promote it by making a patch as well. I think it would be super cool to have more areas like that for people to go and visit these small communities. And I think the economic impact would be huge. It'd be very helpful for these small towns and like Cave City and all the surrounding towns that are evenly spaced every 30 miles in my area. It just so happen there's a Dollar General or a Casey's gas station or a little mom and pop cafe. And I think that's something that's fairly unique to my area is how well all those spots are laid out, and you can have more water every 30 miles pretty easily. So that's what I'm planning on doing is just working in the community, working at the local bike shop, Polk Bayou Outfitters down in Batesville, and kind of spreading the gravel gospel.
I want to ask you about that in 1 second, but the difference between having a pamphlet of what to ride versus getting to ride with you, I think the real value of riding in the area is getting to meet Bobby and getting to hang out with him and ride with him.
Wow.
And so we almost need instead of like an Uber app, like a Bobby app where people can be like, "Hey, I'm going to call and I'm in this area. I'm going to ride, and let's have Bobby show up so he can ride with me and show me all the fun stuff and hang out and have a good time." But
I love that. This morning actually, there's a professor from Lyon College that reached out and said, "I've never been on gravel. How do I make the entry into gravel?" And I found him a bike, and I put him on a bike. And this morning we did the watermelon grind loop.
Wow.
The gravel ride that we're doing for the Cave City Watermelon Festival. And then last weekend,
that's your secret weapon, by the way, Bobby, is like,
oh yeah,
you. Yeah. Keep going though. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And then, and then last weekend I did the same thing. A young man from town just wanted an intro to gravel, and I've got 4 to 5 bikes that I don't care to let anyone get on and ride the gravel,
including
I'll
me.
the way.
And then I broke one of them.
That's exactly how you got into gravel, huh, Bill? You rode my All City.
I mean, the first time I rode it was like the honeymoon experience, and the second time was like the nightmare experience. But I stuck with it.
You went out and almost busted out that KOM on that segment. It blew my mind. You almost got my KLM on my own bike. I was
Uh,
like, oh man, this guy's gonna be strong.
that would have been a life accomplishment, by the way. But yeah, those really were two very memorable rides, and I give you the credit for making them happen. But anyways, continue, keep going, keep going. Don't make it cut you off.
Yeah, what were we talking about? Just
Yeah, you're just willing to let people ride your bikes and get to know the area, whether
yeah,
they're
sure.
beginner or like. I mean, I came into it as a pretty roady guy who had the
Yeah, that's right.
fitness,
That's
but
right.
I didn't have the humility to know like this gravel road could kill me. So like I was doing some pretty stupid stuff that first time that I just got lucky on, and the second time I paid for it for being stupid. But
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah,
that's where
and
we're.
I think just hosting folks in this area, whether I'm involved or not, I would love to be involved because I love to ride, and there may be people that can't ride on my level, and in that case, it'd be easier for me to join them on their adventures. But it's also crossed my mind possibly I need to get me an e-bike so that I can keep up with the fast guys if they ever want me to come, if they ever want to come and let me show them around.
That's how
But
you need to explain it to your wife, by the way.
yeah, I'm
I'm just kidding. I don't.
secretly refusing an e-bike. I know there's a place for them, but I'm resisting the e-bike.
Yeah, no, I respect that. I'm there with you. Keep going though.
Yeah. And so, we've been working with the city up here in Cave City and just having a mayor that really is so supportive of everything that we're doing. And they love seeing, all the cyclists coming through whenever I could get them, hosting the Jonesboro group, Eric Birch and Derek and, all those guys making friends with those has been a lot of fun. Those guys have a blast.
Yeah,
And then you have your friends down in Little Rock, some of the Mellow Velos like to come up and ride with me. And then obviously there's some people from Bentonville area that also have come to the Sandtown Shuffle and they all really enjoy the gravel. And I think that, people was pretty responsive about the gravel too over the Graveler, the Arkansas Graveler. People said that the section from Mountain View to Cave City was their favorite stretches of gravel on the whole route.
oh, that's
And
awesome.
I mean, I was told that by multiple people, and those are my favorite roads to ride. I mean, that one stretch along the White River, that's on White River Gravel Trail, and it's a pretty memorable spot, and it just flows so smooth, and it's a cool spot. But there's lots of sections like that on that route in particular. There's a ghost town that's on it, and out of Calico Rock, and then you have old Civil War battlegrounds and just really small, neat, unique communities littered throughout the whole thing. But I'm excited to see some people come and not only bypack that and enjoy it because I love riding it, but I'm interested to see some people throw down the hammer and see how fast they can ride that 141 mile route because it's tough. I mean, it's pretty relentless, but I'm excited. I hope some good friends come down and make an honest effort at it, and we can keep up with that stuff and recognize them for being the beast that they are. But
Well, message received. I will up my game on Trainer Road. Give me 3 weeks and I'll be there to do it. So
do it, man. Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
You have it in you. You could easily ride that thing in one push.
I might be able to ride it, but I definitely couldn't put up a competitive effort against the guys we ride with. So
until somebody else does it, you'll be the fastest time.
Okay, see, that's what I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, yep. You'll hold the title.
Man, we talked about so much there. I hate to shift gears, but I want to, so that way we're not, talking for 4 hours about all this. Poke Bayou, the bicycle outdoor store and outdoor store in Batesville. You have a big role there. So tell me a little bit about that store and like what all you're doing there.
Okay, well that store, it's acting as an outdoor hub for Batesville, Independence County, And what they're doing is just that they're going to be a hub to the rock climbing scene at Jamestown Mountain for information on that. Anything, there's no real sports store. There's a Hibbett, but no locally owned like running, hiking, biking shop, within an hour and a half of Batesville. And so what the owners, Monica and Tyler Griffin, they own a farm that is on the Polk Bayou right here north of Batesville, and it flows into the White River. And they're putting in a access point for floating. So they're going to be an outfitter for floating the bayou, and then they'll have access to one of the three brothers that own Jamestown Mountain, Aaron, Christopher. He's working out at the shop too. And then I'm down there doing all things bike. So I'm working on the bikes to selling the bikes, and we're a special Salsa dealer.
Are you doing inventory like stock as well?
Yeah. I help out we all kind of help out with that.
Okay.
Right now there's just three of us or so in there.
Well, the first time I was in there and looking at the bicycle stuff, I thought somebody whose interests are identical to mine takes care of this store, because everything I want to buy and need to buy is in this store right now. So
yeah, they kind of opened up the book and they said buy the things that you use. We want to sell things that you use that you're confident in your gravel cycling.
I mean, that is the smartest approach in my opinion. Okay, but keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fun to go through the catalog and order all the things and get to look at them and test them out and all that. So yeah, of course I'm having fun with it, because I love playing with bikes. I love talking about bikes. So, and then just, it's kind of been fun being a part of the Arkansas Graveler promotional video. People have reached out to me and wanted to buy bikes from that guy.
Oh, wow. that was a great promotional video, by the way. So yeah, kudos to whoever made that. And that's awesome that you're getting exposure for that too. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, that was cool, and so yeah, and it's made relationships. And when I was on the on route of the Graveler, I had people say, "Hey, you're the guy from the video, and you encouraged me to get out here. I had zero fitness, and I watched that promotional video, and immediately hired Scotty as a coach." And, and got the fitness to ride this thing, and she made it every day. So
What more motivation do you need as a cyclist than to hear that? Man, that's incredible, dude.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And she just, recognized the mustache from the video. And so,
do you remember when we did that group ride with the vegan cyclist, and that's the only picture he posted from the group ride was, look at this guy's mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do have an epic mustache, so that's, yeah, it is. Yeah. It's easy to remember. So
yeah,
never change it.
Yeah.
All right.
And my power just went out. Yep.
Oh, your power ran out of the house?
Yeah. It just flipped back on.
Okay.
But yeah, it's storming like crazy here.
Oh, wow. Well, I can't even hear it if that helps you, but I'm sure you're scared. I'm in, like I said, I'm in Nashville, so I'm not experiencing any of that, thankfully, yet.
So yeah, Polk Bayou, it's right on the bayou in Batesville, on historic Main Street, Batesville, and it's a cool location. It's, if you lived in Batesville and you could pick any building in town to put a bike shop and outfitter service, they picked the right one. It's a really cool old building.
Agreed.
Used to be an old soda fountain. It used to be a drugstore, several different things. And yeah, they let me fix it up with all the things that I would want as a cyclist. And the same way with Aaron and the rock climbing, and he's doing cave tours out of there, and then floating as well. So, it's been a lot of fun being a part of that, and it's definitely needed in our area, and I need it to be successful for creating the community for I got to have somewhere to send them to buy a bike,
Yep.
And so why not somewhere local? And so that's been fun, and yeah, been a fun project.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say this correctly, but what you did with the professor from Lyon College and that bike ride, he's gonna carry you with him forever. And so you not only do you get to like help him experience that, but you also get to help like prepare them, equip them for the bike, accessorize it, build up like the needs around it. I just see what you're doing as such a unique but yet crucial role in the cycling community. And I really think it's a shame that you don't have 1,000 more people biting at the bit to jump in and to experience what Bobby has to offer, especially through Pokey Bayou now. Like I just feel like you have the whole setup of what you need to succeed. And
Yeah, man.
there's people who are just wasting away in life and not enjoying life to its fullest because I mean, and I'm guilty of playing on my phone and like watching and like binging Netflix series and like that. I think that's important for families time, like in certain ways. But there's people who are just missing out on like the childlike wonder of life because they've yet to meet you. And so I just feel like you do play that crucial role of filling that gap of somebody who cannot who will ride with you regardless of your level, but also can get you a bike and get you set up for a lot of joy in life. So
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that. So
Yeah, thanks for that.
yeah.
That's what it's about for me, man. It really is.
Yeah. We talked right after I was on my way home from Unbound and you had just gotten home and I didn't know it. And we were on the phone for like 30 minutes and you were like, well, I've been home for a while now, so I should probably get in and see my wife. And I'm like, dude, you've been home and you didn't go in and see your wife. And you go, she knows what's important to me. And I just thought that was so funny. but yeah, the way you just take this part of life seriously. And I think what you said about how to do Unbound next year really resonated with me, and I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to ride the 50 or the 100 next year and try to bring my family with me. That way I'm not gone all day. I can experience the community and the camaraderie and the fun and the joy of being at Unbound and enjoy the expo and all the friends and the group rides. So yeah, what you told me that moment, like on the phone afterwards, has stuck with me, and it's kind of become my plan for 2025. So just on a personal note, I would say thank you for sharing that with me. But you had a good time. You had a good time at Unbound this year, right?
Yeah, and I didn't even ride in the event. I just went and hung out, and I rode the South Loop when everybody went north, and did the 50-mile loop, and then got back and enjoyed all the festivities. It was cool to get to go and do it like that. It was totally worth it. Expo's so cool, and there's so much to look at.
Did you feel like you were missing out at all, though, by not being part of the official event?
No, I really didn't. I did it the year before, and it was great. And yeah, I didn't really have any remorse. I didn't really care that I wasn't riding in it.
Do you remember? Okay, so you and I we drove together to Unbound in 2023. We both rode the 200. We both finished, and then we drove home the next day, and that's Sunday. And we were in your vehicle, and I remember, and I hope no cops are listening, but I remember like almost falling asleep several times. I was so tired. And did you have that experience too, where you almost fell asleep driving?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. I was turning your vehicle and about to fall asleep. But so this year I went by myself, and I thought I was gonna struggle to stay awake on the way home, and I actually had no problem staying awake, which was so crazy to think about. But
yeah,
was that 200-mile ride taught me something about myself? What did it teach you about yourself?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess, everything's in hindsight. Like in the moment, like when things get real hard, like just to know that it's just temporary and that you're going to get past that moment, and you can keep going. But it's, that whole cliche thing, like it really stuck out to me, like in that moment. So I guess that was it for me. So when you're doing something hard, if you just keep pushing past it, it's only even at the Arkansas Graveler, there were times where you may get a little irritated for some reason or something, or you may have these feelings for a moment, and then you just got to know that it's temporary. And in the moment, you need to realize that this is going down in as a very memorable time in your life. Like for the Arkansas Graveler, I knew in those times when it was or at Unbound, either way, like the tough times, it's like this is temporary. I'm having the time of my life. This is going to be one of the best moments of my life, potentially. It's not going to be near as bad as what I feel right now down the road. And just to know that if you really focus on that aspect of it, you can get past those hardest.
That's a good answer and good perspective too, I think.
Yeah, and that's why, when you have people struggling around you and, it's almost a joke, hey, we paid to do this.
Yeah.
We're paying to do this. And just remember, next week when we're all wishing we were out here with all of these people riding our bikes and we're at work,
yep.
Like this is a real treat. It's not everyone gets to do this, and so even as bad as it is hurting me right now, in the moment, it's going to be worth it in the end.
I could not have said it better myself. What's the big next ride? What's the big next event that if you had like a 30 to 5 minute commercial ad to put on the radio of like, hey, come and join this ride, come be part of what Bobby's doing, what would that be?
Yeah, we're doing a 13-mile route option, ride through the crops for the Cave City Watermelon Festival, and that's going to be July 17th. A lot of people may have an interest in watermelons like we do here in Cave City, and I'm going to give anybody that wants the chance the opportunity to ride through the crops and then have a watermelon feast at the end. And then in this fall,
and what date is that?
That's July 27th.
July 27th, okay.
Watermelon Festival. Yeah, that's the morning of the Watermelon Festival. They also have a melon 5K that morning. And then this fall, what we're doing is we're partnering with the small town that's 10 miles north of Cave City. We ride through there. The Sandtown Shuffle went through, and that's the Tour de Bert. And we call it the Tour de Bert after Burt Reynolds. In the early 90s, he was involved in the community of Evening Shade, and they actually loosely based the TV show that he was a part of off of that small town. And so we're partnering with the community events committee to have this ride in partnership with their fall festival. And it's all to raise money for the Bear Creek Food Pantry. They feed the community every week and do a special Christmas service around Christmas time. And yeah, we're going to do that. And we think that's going to be, as a kid, we would go through and see the Burt Reynolds billboard in Evening Shade, and all that's gone now. And the legends of Burt Reynolds is about what faded away. But we're going to have an event to try to showcase some of that. And so we got a really cool logo with Burt Reynolds' head on a guy on a drop bar bike. And we think it's going to be a pretty cool experience. May even get let out by a General Lee car or something. Not a General Lee, but a Bandit car.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So those are the two events that we're working on by the end of the year that we're excited about having. But, there's lots of rides that I plan on doing and touring, like I was saying, the White River Gravel Trail. And then I really wanted to do the Crowley's Ridge Gravel Trail over from Piggott to Helena. I think that would be something cool to go and bite off one weekend. And then, of course, the Ozark Grinder Trail. I want to do attempt number 2, trying to push that whole thing out in one sitting. So I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I guess my perspective has changed on like what my goals are and what I want to ride and what I want to enjoy riding. And that's where I feel like you kind of know who you are, and in that you want to help people on board into cycling and to enjoy it, even though you can like easily bust out a 200-mile unbound race and do well in under like the worst conditions of the worst year that 2023 had to offer. So
yeah, it was pretty wild.
so yeah, obviously nobody doubts that Bobby is a legend on the gravel bike. So
Well,
anyways,
thanks.
yeah, dude. Yeah.
Something I noticed was announced yesterday. I was going to ask you if you were going to try to look into it. Was the Mid-South XL? Have you considered that? The free event that's going to be kicking off the registration for the Mid-South?
No, fill me in real quick.
Yeah, 300-mile option. I believe Bobby Wenzel's putting it on at a district box in Stillwater, and it has the outer loop of every 100-mile route that has been used for the Mid-South, and it's 300 miles total. I think it's a complete self-support event, completely free, no cap on registrations. Wednesday, the week of opening. I'm not sure what week that is though, but I don't know. It kind of interests me.
Is it in March like Mid-South is?
It's in August.
Oh, it's like coming up.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It may. I'm not sure when it is actually. You may want to double check all that.
Sure.
I think it's actually in September.
I don't know. I guess I'm open to it. I'm not really open to the idea of riding 300 miles again, but I'm open to the events that other Bobby in my life. I've only met him a few times. You're the first Bobby. He's the other Bobby. I guess I really respect what he does and more so now than ever. So yeah, okay. That's that. I guess that you've piqued my interest because of all these things coming together in my life right now.
Yeah, if nothing else, you should go and you should just get into the Mid-South and experience that for yourself.
And that
it really is special.
That is in March, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, it sells out every year, but I wasted a slot last year because I couldn't get rid of it. So coming close to time, it seems like a lot of there's the transfer forum online, and you could snag entries last minute pretty easily, or you could the last 2 years.
But what's surprising is like the lifetime events. Okay, I know you've had your struggle with Unbound by random lottery. Like I've never had a problem with Unbound, but Big Sugar, I got on the waiting list last year, and then like 2 weeks later, they're like, "Hey, you got your spot confirmed within the next 48 hours." And so,
wow,
it just makes me wonder, like, are these events like actually abandoned by people at the last minute more so than we realized?
Yeah, and I think Unbound, they don't allow you to transfer your bib, right? The chips.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they have a lot stricter rules than what Mid-South does.
When I asked them to join the waiting list for the XL, they're like, "No need to do that. We'll let you in. Just confirm and let us know as soon as you can." So it was just like, okay, crap. Now I got to ask my wife, and then I can join this. And I asked her, and she's like, "Yeah, it's fine." And she had no idea how many miles that was or anything. So.
Yeah. Well, Bill, when you signed up for that, when you commented, when you posted that you were doing it, I was like, wow, Bill's biting off a lot. And
more than he can chew.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't know. I don't know. I don't know what you're capable of. You took down Unbound last year like a champ, and I was like, he's probably got it in him. He handled Unbound 200 and walked away, unscathed, I felt like. And so I feel like you had it in you. And I wasn't unsure, but I know it's a big commitment. And that's the deal. I was like, wow, that's a big commitment, But you went out there and you gave her a good shot. I'll tell you that. That was commendable, man, for even signing up. That took some bravery right there.
Well, I appreciate that. And like, in hindsight, I should not have carried that heavy backpack and that big, just a bunch of extra weight in my frame bag. But dude, like
Yeah.
I just look at like the stuff that you do and just think like under the right conditions and the right strategy, like there's no reason you couldn't do it too. Like you and I could both, like, especially if we tag teamed it, like we could murder that course. It would suck. Like it would totally suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the gravel around our area prepares us in ways that other people, like, I mean, that guy who did the Tour de France, who's doing the Tour de France right now, like, you know, what he's used to in gravel is far different than what we experience. But
No, I think
we
you're
just have
right.
sucky gravel around here.
And I'm going to tell you, like on the Arkansas Graveler, like the people, Andy and all the guys you just mentioned that, we all ride in this area. We're the ones that knew what to expect going into the Graveler. And there's a lot of people that didn't know what to expect. And they bit off a lot more than they could chew, even on the mini Graveler. The one day, people was like, whoa, like that's a lot. That's some rough gravel that's pretty relentless on the climbs. And so, yeah, I think people got a true taste of how tough the gravel in our area is. It's pretty relentless.
Okay, two more questions, and then we're gonna get off here. Number one, who's your primary riding buddy?
Yeah, Jared Sandifer lives technically, I guess, 5 miles from me, and man, what an asset he has been to motivate me to get on a bike more often, living down the road. And we took on the Arkansas Graveler together. We have ridden 100 miles of the Ozark Grinder Trail together, and that's, pound for pound, the hardest mileage I've ever been on. So, yeah, Jared is a close friend of mine, but we have a small group of 5 to 10 of us locally that ride pretty regular, and they've all been great. Helped me to pursue this vision that I have of changing our area to a cycling hub for Arkansas.
Second question: if you were to do what you would deem as like an impossible ride, and I mean that in like pushes you to your absolute limits, would be absolutely insanely fun, just describe that ride, like elevation, mileage, scenario, location, just paint that picture for us.
Oh boy. I think I have a 300-mile route that I have posted in Strava, saved in Strava, and I think that route would be insanity. I think it would be a little bit more adventurous, a little bit easier on you than a doom route, but I still think it would be very, very hard to do the 300-mile route option that I have. And it's got some really cool landscape. It goes all over to Leslie. It circles Crown Lake north up at Horseshoe Bend, and it almost goes to Jonesboro. And it just has every road that I'm familiar with. And I think it would be cool to take a weekend and try to ride it all 300 miles of it in one push. But I know it would be very challenging.
That sounds like fun, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I rode with Charles Fox from Gearhead, and I think he had done 2 century rides like the 2 days before we rode, and then we did 80 miles together. And we get back and he's like, man, I'm embarrassed that you did so good and I did so bad. I'm like, dude, I've literally not ridden like 10 miles the past 2 days, and you've ridden 200 miles. So obviously you have a level of fatigue that you bring to this. So I knew Charles was good. Not like in theory I knew he was good, but then experientially I'm like, this guy's insane. But then it took him, he did Doom, or was it the Ride of Doom or Despair, the 200-mile one? Which one's that one?
That's Despair, yeah.
Okay, he did Despair. He said it took him 66 hours. I'm like,
yeah.
How does it take you 66 hours to ride 200 miles? And then he explained the terrain. I'm like, oh, never mind. I couldn't have even done half of that. And so to think about what that ride has to offer is like not just like an impossible, but like a seriously impossible ride for me, because like I just don't have the bike handling skills to navigate what that has to offer. So to think about 300 miles with sections similar to that does not sound like, it just doesn't sound doable for someone like me. But obviously it is for people like you and Charles and Andrew and other guys of that caliber. So to think about that distance, oh man, just seems like that would take forever to do. But
my first century was on our local gravel here. I did it by myself. I just wanted to ride 100 miles, and it was, you're getting 100 foot a mile, of climb. So, I mean, it was a pretty tough century, and you mixed in with some real chunky technical gravel, you have over toward Mountain View, and it was a tough century. So it made all the road century I went on to ride later like feel real easy. And I was like, man, that's two different things right there, But yeah.
Okay, so the Unbound XL was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But until then, we had done the 200 in 2023. But the first road century ride I did in 2021 was harder for me than the XL or than the 200 was in 2023.
Yeah.
And it was only 1,000 feet of climbing, and it was all pavement. So it only took 7 hours, but the headwind and everything, like that first century ride mentally was the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. So the fact that you did that on gravel and you did about 100 feet per mile of climbing, sometimes I just feel like a crap cyclist. And when you say stuff like that, I just feel like even more of a crap cyclist. So
it's what you get used to over here. If you love gravel and you love riding and you get used to it, it is kind of funny. I'll host people, and I'm just so used to these hills, and that's just what I'm used to riding. And they're like, man, this is hard. How do you ride, these roads just all the time? And I'm like, because it's all I have. I have a lot of this, but there's advantages to this. It makes you strong. As you go ride in other locations, like over at Mid-South, I feel fast when I go ride over there. And rightfully so, is because it's a lot flatter and the roads are a little bit smoother, it feels like at times. But yeah.
Well, and you never get a draft off people around here. And so when you go to Mid-South and you get a draft off people, isn't it crazy how fast, like you said, like you just feel so fast and like strong and powerful, and especially if you're in the middle of the pack when the road is already like paved for you and like all the gravel is like grooved out and it's just, hard packed dirt.
Yeah.
You definitely have a unique training ground that I think prepares you for things in ways that most people just don't have access to. So
yeah, I think you're right.
Dude, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm going to hit the stop button. And in the meantime, if you found anything interesting on this, they can find you on Strava, Instagram, Facebook. And if they want to ride with you, if they just send you a message, like that's all it takes, right? And you'll like do the work from there of figuring out logistics and how to plan a ride and figuring out their fitness level and what would be the best idea for them.
Yeah, just reach out. Yeah, whatever platform works for them, just reach out and we can figure something out for sure.
It's funny, I met you through a friend, but then like you just kind of took over and like, hey, here's a bicycle for you. Hey, here's the route we're going to do. And then like over the next 7 months, we just kind of developed our own friendship. And I've probably ridden with you more than I have my other friends from that area tenfold because you just love bicycles. You know how to take care of people. So if you want to start riding bikes, like Bobby's your guy, and you should reach out to him. So, but yeah, dude, thanks for all that you do for the community and for taking care of people and getting people excited about bicycles. I know that without you, I never would have even done my first gravel ride successfully. And I definitely wouldn't have done some of the most memorable rides of my life, which were contained at Unbound. So, man. Yeah, cool. I just want to say thank you for all that you've done for me personally. It means a lot. So.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being yourself and being cool with bikes. That's all it takes, man.
Yeah, dude. All right, man. Well, I will talk to you later, and thank you everybody for listening. And yeah, reach out to Bobby as soon as you can and go ride in Cave City.